Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Jim Coyle sitting in with you as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on check. Appreciate Jake. Coming to you, of course, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this midway point of the week, Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. On the program today, Matt Weaver from Peegs.com. We're going to preview Indiana Football Media Day, which is tomorrow, which precedes the opening of camp on Friday. Whoops, stop. That wasn't supposed to be going yet. Kevin Brockway is also on the program, CNHI's IU beat writer. He talked to Antoine Randall yesterday, so we look forward to talking to that, man. Haven't heard from Antoine in a while. Appropriate the day before IU Football Media Day comes out. A lot of other things to talk about. Indiana baseball, they're going to open up the season at LSU. Wow, that's going to be a tough matchup, one of the top programs in all of college baseball. But Indiana spreading its wings. Look forward to getting Jeff Mercer on here in maybe next week, as a matter of fact. And we'll talk about that and much more. But Indiana baseball, after a great season in which they won the Big Ten championship, looking to build on that. Of course, they lost a lot of guys to the Major League Draft. But they're reloading. Coach Mercer, he's restocking the cupboard and be ready to go. We'll talk about today what IU basketball needs from the 2021 class. We talk about this class, man. It's one of the best in Indiana in a while. Indiana's going to have some open scholarships, obviously, but they're only going to have a limited number. Now, that could grow, but right now it looks to be 3, probably 4, if the scholarship from this season carries over. But then there's possibilities of things opening up. You never know with transfers and all that stuff, but we'll look forward to that. Did you have a chance to watch any baseball yesterday? Did you see anything happen?
And now there's some serious chirping coming from the Pirates dugout. And now Garrett's on his way to the dugout, and here we go. Oh! Garrett goes in there punching. This is not a good scene at all. You could feel it brewing and brewing and brewing.
We're going to have to look back on this. There's David Bell, who came back out of the clubhouse.
A certain suspension for him. And now Puig from the back. Puig coming at. Quick. In the bottom of your screen, you're going to see David Bell sprinting.
Man, if you didn't see that Reds fight yesterday, it's a classic. Pitcher Amir Garrett is on the mound for the Reds, and there's chirping apparently going back and forth between him and the Bucks bench, the Pirates bench. And the next thing you know, he wades into the whole team. He goes in swinging, but he's by himself. And he's in there by himself for a minute. He is surrounded by the entire Pittsburgh Pirates team before some of the other Reds come to join the fray. And then the last guy, not the last guy in, but the last guy still battling was Puig. He had just gotten traded just before that, to Cleveland. So the last time you'll see Yasir Puig in a Reds uniform, he's battling. Man, I hate to see him get traded. And why is it the Reds always break your heart with a trade? I mean, it may have ended up being financially the right thing to do. Puig was probably going to be gone next year to free agency. But, man, you'd just like to be able to see them hold on to their stinking team and add to it instead of dismantling it a lot. But, wow, what a brawl that was, man. I guess you should never celebrate fights, but that's a pretty damn good one for baseball. But how about Garrett? Dude just says, F it, and just charges from the mound into the Pittsburgh, nearly the dugout. They were all right outside the dugout, but he's over there by himself, waylaying, and just surrounded by by Pittsburgh players, man. It was unbelievable. I mean, it's one of the best baseball fights I've seen in a minute, just because of him charging in there by himself. It's crazy. He didn't care. He was like, "I'm coming. It's on," and it was. No love lost between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, it looked like. Cincinnati making a gigantic trade, but they get Bauer from Cleveland. That's the dude that threw the ball into center field the other day, by the way. If you saw that, he was getting taken out. So there's that. Tim texts in. I asked a question, what does Indiana need from that 2021 class? He asked, can we land Leo and Caleb Love? Well, Caleb Love's in the other class, in the 2021 class. Leo's in the 2020 class. I feel confident that they're going to land Leo. I think it was Caleb Love that said yesterday he's going to be – was it Caleb Love, I think, that said he's going to be cutting his list soon? And here's another thing. Here, we get into – you just had Trey Galloway quietly make his announcement on an Instagram account. Didn't have a big press conference and all that. Then you got guys that are they're announcing that they're gonna cut their list. Don't really, just do it. And I talked about this yesterday. This cutting your list to 10 crap. Why are you wasting people's time? But that's it's not these kids. It's the adults that hang on that stuff. I'm like, dude, just tell me when you're there. I don't want to hear you cutting your list to 27 and then to 14 and blah, blah, blah. Just do it. But cut it to 5. You can take 5 visits. You really need 10? Oh, well. That's the – yeah, Tim texted in. Can we land Caleb Love and Leo? We need love. All I saw was the "we need love" pop up on the text. I'm like, well, sounds like the Beatles.
He's talking about the baseball fight.
Exactly. That's what I thought it was talking about at first when I first saw that tweet pop up, because I just saw the bottom part. But yeah, that 2021 class, I talked about that yesterday. You're looking at the grid. It's dependent upon how things obviously go before, how many scholarship offers they're going to be able to make in that class. Right now, I'm guessing 4, but that's it. Only if they carry one of these scholarships that are available now over, which right now they're carrying 2 over. I think they signed 3 guys. I think that, Galloway's already committed, obviously. I think Leo commits. I think Matt Cross is going to pull the trigger as well. I don't know about a 4th. I don't know. I think that they carry that over to that 2021 class instead of waiting for someone to transfer or leave. We'll certainly find out. But another text in, I don't know what Leo's waiting for. His friend's committed, so I'm sure Trace is talking to him. Everybody's talking to him. It's not. I mean, I'm not really concerned about it. I just don't make it a big deal. Let it happen. Just let it happen. It's gonna, whatever is gonna happen is gonna happen. But I think that's how that ends out. We'll certainly find out. Tomorrow is football media day for Indiana. We'll be out there with complete coverage, of course. We're going to do something a little different. Tom Allen is going to be speaking at 9 a.m. So we're probably going to be going on maybe a couple minutes early to be ready right at 9 in case he jumps on right at 9. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, but it's going to be a little different as far as I'm not going to be able to guide you verbally through this. It's kind of a quiet, it's a room full of people. I won't be sitting there having a normal show, quote unquote. But we're going to take Coach Allen live at 9. Then you're going to have Kalen DeBoer, the offensive coordinator, coming on around 9:30, followed by Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator, around 9:45. Then we've got a special treat for you. How about our old buddy Pat Graham? To me, possibly the greatest pure shooter in Indiana football or basketball history. Pat's going to join us. Old Highlander buddy. We both went to Floyd Central High School in Southern Indiana. But Pat will be on with us. Looking forward to that. One of the best friends of Todd Leary. A good buddy of ours also that joins us each Friday. But looking forward to talking to Pat, man. He's just a great athlete, great shooter, but just a good old boy that tells it like it is and says what he thinks. Looking forward to having our friend Pat on the show tomorrow. It's a little special treat for you. Then on Friday, I think we should be back to having Todd Leary, and I think Tom Brew is going to join us again from the new Maven Sports Illustrated Network. And we'll recap IU football media days and all that's going on there. You know, Indiana's still waiting to hire that new assistant basketball coach. That's going to be mainly a recruiting position. So, you know, not in a terrible hurry because this class currently is basically set that they expect to get. Like I said, I think Leal's going to commit next, and I think Cross will follow. I think they bank that fourth scholarship. I really do. I don't think they can get the guys they really want outside of Indiana. Matt Cross would be the first. I mean, you can say Jerome Hunter, but Jerome Hunter was being recruited and heavily by Archie Miller before he came to Indiana. So that's kind of how that happened. Other than that, there have been no outside recruits. Matt Cross would be the first if he doesn't so indeed do that. We'll find out. But I think they carry that scholarship over to 2021 so they have extras in there because even at 4, man, there's a lot of guys. Obviously, Christian Lander and Caleb First. Caleb First just got a new offer from, was it Maryland or Notre Dame? I forget, but he's got a ton of offers. He's got offers from about everywhere now. But he just got a new offer in as well. But it's going to be very important to see who they end up landing out of that class. And then the funny thing is, after the 2021 class has come and happened, Indiana's roster could be, I'm going to have to really look at it and break it down, but it could be upwards of 80% Indiana kids. You look at the kids that they brought in this past season, all 3, Joey Brunk, Trace Jackson, Armand Franklin, all Indiana kids. Last year, Indiana kids. 2021, I think it's going to be Indiana kids. At least 3 of them. So that's 3/4 of your roster is going to be from Indiana, which is how it should be when you live in a state that produces that kind of talent. As long as you're getting that top talent, you don't have to go anywhere else. And I've had this discussion with some of the national recruiting experts, and they acted like that's not possible. And I'm like, baloney. When you have a top talent at each of those positions, and Indiana produces that, then you don't need to go outside of there. If you have great point guards, well, Indiana produces good point guards. Good off guards, Indiana produces that. And the bigs as well. It's there. And Indiana's getting to that. There would be nothing cooler than watching an Indiana team win that is full of Indiana kids. They're heading in that direction. You may have to add something here and there, but that could be an interesting deal for Indiana in the next couple of years. Looking forward to that. But on the program today, Matt Weaver's going to join us as always, the football guru from Peegs. He's all over IU football, man. Camp starts on Friday, and the biggest burning question is going to be this quarterback race. Peyton Ramsey is the incumbent. Michael Penix, Jack Tuttle, the challengers. But I think that it's going to be Penix or Tuttle. That's not like earth-shattering news. But that's my thought on it. Simply because The one thing that Indiana's offense did not have last year was the ability to, or the last 2 years, the ability to stretch the defense, the ability to throw long, to go deep, to use their quality wide receivers that they have, to open it up for the running game. Can you imagine if Stevie Scott has throwing support, downfield support? If he opens that defense up, Stevie Scott rushed for over 1,100 yards as a freshman last year, unexpectedly. And that was without a downfield game. Can you imagine having that support when you loosen that defense up? Also, having Cole Guest back. You got Ronnie Walker, who has that year of experience under his belt. That's why I'm so bullish on this offense. Because whoever it's going to be, and I think it's going to be Tuttle or Penix, they're going to have the ability to do that, to stretch those defenses, which was not there last year. Then you've got an offensive coordinator in Kalen DeBoer who will call the plays to stretch that defense and to keep them off balance. Defenses were not off balance against Indiana last year. Indiana was predictable, vanilla, and boring. That's not going to be the case this season. And I think it's going to serve Indiana well. We got a lot coming up on the program today. Matt Weaver, like I said, from Peegs.com is going to join me in the next hour. We're previewing IU Football Media Day tomorrow. Kevin Brockway had the opportunity to talk with Antoine Randall, former IU great. Now into coaching, I think, with Tampa Bay. Look forward to see how that went as well. But we got a lot more to get to here on the program. Stay tuned. Who we got coming up next, Jake? Aaron Mattis joined us yesterday. We had a reboot for that. Aaron's an IU grad, current sports reporter for Fox 41 in Louisville. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more right after this.
After 9 days, I let the horse run free, 'cause the desert had turned to sea. There were plants and birds and rocks and...
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Hey Porter, it's getting light outside.
Welcome back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports People, Jim Coyle with you as always, joined now by our good friend Aaron Mattis. Aaron, how are you, brother?
I am doing very well. How are you this morning?
Good. Good. I'm glad I can make. Hello?
Uh-oh, am I losing you a little bit?
Did I lose Aaron already? I thought just for a second. That's okay. Oh, man, good. Good things. How's it going with you? What's new with Aaron Mattis?
Well, we just had a little family trip out to Colorado, got a little family time in because, as you know well, the football season is upon us. So it was good to get out of town for a little bit, get a little mountain air, and ready to go now as everything's about to pick up. The sports season is about over, Jim.
Yeah, you spent some time in Colorado, I think, working, correct, in your TV capacities before coming to the Fox 41?
Yeah, we were there for about 6.5 years. So about time we went out there, saw some old friends, and got up to the mountains for an evening, and it was nice. Yeah, we loved it out there.
It's time. It's back to reality, though. Like you said, it's football season. It's almost upon us. So we just had Big Ten Media Days a week or so ago. I was up in Chicago for that, and now Indiana having Media Day this Thursday. Things are getting ready to kickoff for college football. Only a month away, August 31st, Indiana kicks off against Ball State at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. But all before then, we got to go back to the beginning. And, of course, fall camp starts Friday for Indiana. So we'll start to getting a look at this offense that I think could be a very prolific offense. But more importantly, the quarterback situation. They got 3 good quarterbacks. Everybody thinks they know who it's going to be. I promise you don't know who it's going to be because Tom Allen does not know who it's going to be.
I bet you are hoping it's not Peyton Ramsey. Am I wrong?
It's not a hoping. I will bet you money it's not Peyton Ramsey. How about that?
Well, I wouldn't take the bet because I've already got a Dagwood sandwich up in Bloomington on the line that it's not Peyton Ramsey. And I want to be clear. Peyton Ramsey's a good kid, but 2 years at 5-7, it kind of is what it is at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a great guy. He's a good leader. He's great to have in the position I think he's going to be in. But I think that to step up, you've got to step up, and it's time for this talent to take Tom Allen's done an incredible job of elevating the talent pool on that Indiana football team. And part of that is getting better players, and better players do better things. And I think that's what we have to see. And it's not just on the player side, also from a personnel standpoint. They brought in, obviously, Kalen DeBoer as offensive coordinator because things were not exactly prolific last year or electric on the offensive side. So it's not just on the player side, but you got Michael Penix, who the dude can throw it from here to Colorado. I mean, he's just got an absolute cannon coming out of his shoulder. And then you've got Jack Tuttle, who is a top 10 rated quarterback in the country. He's got talent. I mean, you just can't. That's what you have to win. And that's why I think, I say it's not going to be Peyton Ramsey. I just think that talent is going to shine.
Yeah, I'm with you. I couldn't tell you who it's going to be or who I think it should be between Penix and Tuttle because I just don't know. I know Penix was exciting last year when he came in. His ball just looked different, as you mentioned. A couple times it looked like he jump-started the offense a little bit. So we know he can do it. I haven't seen much of Jack Tuttle other than I can find online. And he looks like a pretty darn good quarterback. So I think it's going to be one of those two guys. Here's what I hope doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't bleed into the season in where they put Ramsey in against Ball State and slowly make the change if there's a struggle. I hope that they're going to do it, just rip the Band-Aid off and have the new starter start at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah, I think that was Coach Allen's plan last year, and I think that it backfired. I think it cost him going to a bowl game. I think Michael Penix should have been the starter without a doubt last year from the first snap, and I think that was a mistake, and that's my opinion on it. That's not going to change, but irrelevant to that, I agree with you 1,000%. You got to get the guy, go with the guy. right from the start. But I think that will happen. I don't think that he's going to try to do that again. I think that they want to get on top of things and get that offense rolling, because you've only got 2 non-conference games before Ohio State comes calling.
I know.
And you better be ready for the Buckeyes, because they're going to be ready.
Here's the first hint that I got that maybe a change is coming. Tom Allen is at Huber's at Big Ten Media Day. His first statement is that he says someone's got to go out there and beat Peyton Ramsey, which is absolutely the right thing to say going into the season. But he was on set with Big Ten Network, and Dave Revson said, what are a couple things that get you guys over the hump, meaning get you to the postseason? And the first thing he said was offensive line, and we can talk about that too. But the second thing out of his mouth was quarterback play. We need someone that elevates the rest of the people around him. And that was the first thing I kind of heard that was a chink in the armor of somebody's got to beat Peyton Ramsey out. Because to me, it was Tom Allen saying we need something more from our quarterback. And I think a lot of us outsiders, and I'll admit we're outsiders, that's our opinion as well.
Absolutely, because you look at this. All right, they won 5 games last year, standard IU football. But there was 3 games they lost by a touchdown or less. I know that you can't go back and do the what if thing, but what if they won those 3 games? That's a freaking 8-win season for a team that was mediocre at best. So
yeah, Minnesota game killed them. I mean,
absolutely. Minnesota game killed them. Absolutely did it. And Maryland, this games you can't lose that they lost, and it's got to change different this year. But they have some unique opportunities this year. You got Michigan and Ohio State coming in. Michigan has gone to overtime in the last 2 visits. They've been here. Your visit to Lincoln is the first visit since 1977. You've got a coaching change there. I think it's an opportunity. It may sound crazy, but I think that's an opportunity for Indiana to shock the football world right there, because now's the time to catch them on their way up before they get up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think, although I've been kind of feel like I've been saying, last year their team motto was finish, which was kind of an homage to how close they've gotten in some of these games where they could have gotten some national attention and not been able to do it. I think this year they're going with grit, but, I think we all still are hoping they can finish a few of these games. And you get the feeling it's coming. I think I thought maybe last year Indiana might be able to knock off one of, the quote unquote big 4 in this completely imbalanced division they play in. And it didn't happen. But maybe this is the year. And until it happens, there's a pretty decent chance it's going to be 5-6 going into the Purdue game again at the end of the year, which, Purdue's on the upswing. So they've really got to start figuring out a way to compete and win with some of the top-notch teams in this division, which, let me just say again, is completely imbalanced.
Well, absolutely. But obviously, Tom Allen's exploits on the recruiting side have not gone unnoticed. He has done one hell of a job as far as elevating the talent. But it's got to correlate to wins, and it's got to correlate this year. I mean, that has to start now. 5 and 7 seasons the last 2 years. It's time to move on for that and see where the program's going. But I don't see how that just doesn't happen. The talent is, like I said, it's increased. The offensive line you mentioned, they've got a good senior-led offensive line. They're trying to increase the depth all the way around, but especially at a position like that. We've seen here in the last few days, they've gotten several commitments on the offensive line. Tom Allen continues to reach out to places like Michigan that used to be forbidden places for Indiana football. But, man, he's pulling the talent in.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I'll reference Big Ten Media Day again because I thought he did a great job kind of breaking down where the program was. He was up at the podium and he said that we didn't have any depth. So what we do the first year, we went out and got the second highest rated class in Indiana history. We turned those guys more or less over to our strength and conditioning staff. A year later, those guys we have depth, but it's inexperienced. He's like, so then we go out and we get the highest rated recruiting class in Indiana history, plus a year of experience on some of those depth positions. So he really explained that they brought the people in. Now they just need a chance to get in there, play, and really spend some time with David Ballou and the strength staff and get bigger because he's doing a good job. I think we all notice some of these guys they're bringing in are 3-star offensive linemen, probably guys that need a year or 2 of beefing up before they're ready to trot out and win a Big Ten football game. It's not like they're bringing in 5-star kids that are ready to play right away. Maybe that is in the plan down the road, but it's kind of baby steps right now. I like what he's doing. I really do think he's doing what needs to be done at IU. But in this Twitter world of impatience, 5-7's a tough pill to swallow, even if the right steps are being made in the background.
Because there's always been this talk about Indiana's a basketball school and it's just never going to do anything in football, blah, 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 because of all that. And I'm like, there was a great article on, I think Mike Schumann wrote about, talking about Northwestern. They lost, an NCAA record 34 games in a row. They averaged 2 wins a season up until 1995. Then all of a sudden they go to the Rose Bowl. And then Pat Fitzgerald has done a great job. They win the Big Ten West Division last year. Northwestern is a school that it's really hard to get into. It's hard to get into Indiana and Michigan and Penn State. They're all Big Ten schools. They're all tough. But Northwestern's up. It's a whole nother level up there. So they're having to do this with kids that are really difficult to get in, which means they're really, really smart. But if they can do that at Northwestern, it can be done at Indiana. It just hasn't been for whatever reason. And ironically, the guy who looks like he's doing the best job ever recruiting, Tom Allen, he didn't have head coaching experience. He didn't have a name behind him. Cam Cameron, Sam Weiss, Jerry DiNardo, all those big names that were brought in, that it didn't happen for him for whatever reason. But it will be really weird if a guy that had zero college experience is the guy that ends up getting it done.
Yeah, and I like what he's doing. I think it's interesting this year that he's pulled himself away from the defensive coordinator role. He's just a head coach this year. So that's an interesting dynamic to watch. We'll see if it plays out well. I thought he was doing a good job with the defense. He did a great job when he was the coordinator. Obviously, it got him the head coaching job. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch, how he handles kind of overseeing as opposed to being right in there with the defense. And obviously that means we got to keep a close eye on Kane Womack as the new defensive coordinator and see if they can stop a few of these teams, right?
Absolutely. And I was talking to Justin Kalin used to be on the show yesterday, and he made a great analogy because I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I really do. I think they actually have a chance in Lincoln, Nebraska. I think they have a chance to win that game. They have a chance to win in West Lafayette. They have a chance to beat Ohio State and Michigan at home. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we've seen them play tough with these teams, but with not as much talent as they have now. So I think that they have that chance to do that. Justin made the analogy. This could be like last year's Kentucky team, which I don't think anybody saw their season coming. They ended up beating Penn State in a bowl game, but they had a great season, far surpassing, I think, their expectations. I think that kind of season could happen for Indiana.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things fell in the right place for Kentucky last year. Some of that would have to happen. A linebacker the likes of Josh Allen. I don't know if Indiana's got that on their roster right now. That was a huge difference maker for Kentucky. But I get what you're saying. I go back to last year a lot, and the most demoralizing thing I saw in terms for the Hoosiers was the Iowa game. It wasn't even one of those games against the Big Four in the division. The Hawkeyes came into Bloomington. I think you were there as well, Jim. But they just, bullied the Hoosiers up and down the field.
That's the perfect word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. It screamed to the idea that they've got to bulk up on the line. And, we can talk about Corey Cronk and Hunter Littlejohn, or on the defensive line, Gavin Everett or Alan Stallings, but these guys got to start winning the line of scrimmage to truly give Indiana a chance in the Big Ten. And I kind of, to the point of, until I see it, I don't know what to expect in terms of breakthrough seasons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we will certainly find out. You're exactly right. It all starts up front. With these guys, it all starts, and you've got to have not only talent but depth, because there's going to be a rotation in and out, and that's where a lot of these teams have beaten Indiana. They're just so deep. Their third string guys can start at a lot of positions. That's got to change, and I think it is changing. I think offensively, Indiana could potentially be as good as any team in the Big Ten this year. They have the talent there. We'll have to see if they're able to produce with it. But running backs, they got to it's got a stock full of them. And you start with Stevie Scott and go down the line. Kogest, who missed last year with an injury, is back. You've got Samson James, Ivory Winters, a great running backs room, of course, receivers as well. And then we talked about the quarterbacks already. So we'll see what they can get done. But I'm expecting big things, man.
I think it's possible, and I am optimistic when it comes to Indiana's season. And I don't know what optimism equals. I don't know if that's a 6-win season getting back to the postseason, which which would certainly be a stepping stone for them. I don't know if it's a 7-win season or what it might be, but I just go back to saying that I like what Tom Allen's doing, and I guess I feel like he deserves the result for what he's doing, and nothing's given. I totally get it, but I think that running back group, that wide receiver group, I totally agree with you on that. He's got to get this quarterback choice right. I know you hinted last year maybe he got it wrong. I think there's an argument there, so he's got to get that right and pick the guy that's going to bring that running back group, that wide receiver group, and quite frankly, make things a little bit easier on the defense. He's got to pick the guy correctly, and that's going to be fascinating to watch here in the fall camp.
You ain't lying, brother. Aaron Mattis, I appreciate you. Anything new coming up with you we need to know about?
No, just getting ready for football season, getting ready for media days, and kind of seeing how things are handled here. I know Tom Allen's opened up a few camps. We'll see how Scott Satterfield things is his first fall in Louisville, so that'll be pretty interesting to watch. And then we get ready for the games, a couple weeks away.
Well, we'll see you on Thursday up at Memorial Stadium for Football Media Day. Aaron Mattis from Fox 41. Again, IU grad, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
You bet. Aaron Mattis from Fox 41 and IU grad joining us. He's a sports reporter for Fox 41 in Louisville. Looking forward to seeing him on Thursday. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
I could be handy mending a fuse when your lights have gone. You can knit a sweater by the fireside.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios here on this Midway Point Hump Day. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us going around the track. Appreciate you joining us. The day before Indiana Football Media Day, tomorrow at Memorial Stadium. Actually, we'll be coming to you live from Football Media Day. Tom Allen, he's up first at 9 a.m., so we're going to be up at it sharp. You're also going to hear from offensive coordinator Kalen DeBoer, in addition to Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator. All that in the first hour tomorrow. Then the second hour, we're switching to basketball. Our good friend Pat Graham's going to join us. Pat's one of the he's potentially the greatest pure shooter in IU football or basketball history. But he's also a guy that he's going to tell it like it is, man. He's going to tell you what he thinks, and just a good guy. Currently living down in Evansville, so all you folks there are listening on the ref can get that tuned in. I've also been looking at the IU basketball roster grid. And, you know, if things go like I think they're going to go this season with Galloway already committed, I think Leal will come next. I think Cross will be added to that. Obviously, 2 out of those 3 are kids from Indiana. But I think the 2021 class, that vaunted 2021 class in the state of Indiana that has so much talent. As of right now, Indiana will have 4 scholarships available. That's if they don't use the other one this year. I think they will carry it over to next season. That with good reason, obviously. That'll give them at least 4 opportunities to offer offers next season, in addition to the possibility of we don't know what's going to happen with Jerome Hunter. Is he going to be able to play? Will he still be taking up a scholarship that could potentially offer up another one if that does not work out well? But if that were the case, let's just playing devil's advocate here. I think they get Galloway and Leal, and then I think you had Cross. He's an out-stater. But next year, if I had to pick 4, I'm looking at Lander first, Kaufman, and Wesley. Of course, Blake Wesley, one of the newest offers. It is the newest offer Indiana has made, but he's the shooter out of that bunch. Anthony Leal also shoots the ball, but I think Wesley may be the best shooter out of that entire bunch. But that's to be determined. But anyway, if those 4 that I think may be the 4, Lander first, Kaufman, and Wesley, that gives you 6 out of 7 recruits from the state of Indiana to be on that team in the 2021 season. Then you've got Trace Jackson Davis, Armand Franklin, Finney, and Anderson. That's a lot of kids from Indiana. As a matter of fact, the only kids from Indiana, not from Indiana, potentially on that roster in the 21 season will be Hunter, who's from Ohio, and Thompson, who's from Minnesota. That's amazing. You're looking at a roster that is more than 80%, maybe 85% kids from Indiana. You haven't seen that in a long, long time. On top of that, Indiana is in position to potentially land Mr. Basketball for the 3rd consecutive season, and that hasn't happened since never. That's never happened. So, a couple of firsts on the docket, potentially, for the Hoosiers. And something that I saw yesterday that was posted on Twitter, there was a study done, or whatever it was, and 53 teams were looked at in this study. And of those 53 teams, only 1 spent more on basketball recruiting than football recruiting. Indiana spent $46,000, more than $46,000 more on basketball recruiting than football recruiting in the 2018 fiscal year. It was the only school in the 53 that was studied for that story to do so. Now, one way you can look at it is, well, IU spends a ton on basketball recruiting. Yes, they do. They spend a lot. I commented that I don't think that that's a very good return on the investment when you're spending the most by far, and you end up with the 54th ranked recruiting class. And then you look at last year's class, Romeo Langford, he's gone. Jerome Hunter has not been able to play. Race Thompson, well, he was actually from the year before, I think. But, and I was just talking about from a business standpoint, if you're looking at on return on investment, not really good. But then on the other side of the coin, you can look at that and say, wow, Indiana's still not committed to football. They're not giving the full resources to Tom Allen and his staff, although he is doing an unbelievable job anyway. You talk about the other side of the coin, a great return on the investment is Tom Allen. He's the least paid coach in the Big Ten, the 65th least paid coach in the United States. But yet he's doing a killer job recruiting. He spends less on football, spent less on recruiting than basketball, but arguably had better success. So from a return on your investment, Indiana football standing kind of tall to me in that study. I'll talk about that with a little bit with Matt when he joins me, but it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. North Carolina, which is among the bluest of the college basketball blue bloods, only spent $159,000 on recruiting in 2018. $159,000. North Carolina. Do you know what Indiana spent? $750,000. So just giving you some context there. They don't have to break the bank. They don't have to have four guys traveling in 8 directions at all times. It kind of makes you wonder, man, is Indiana wasting money in that regard, especially going along with what I just said about it looking like Indiana's going to end up having 85% of its roster from Indiana here by the time the 2021 class is filled. Why does it take 3 times as much money to land kids within your own state? Because those are the kids that they're landing. I think the money is being wasted by going after people that they're not landing. Just a thought. It's just a thought. But it's something we're looking at. My gosh. I mean, I don't think you should spend the money just to freaking spend it. $739,000 Indiana spent in 2018. You know who was second? Illinois. And you can look at Indiana's 2018 recruiting class rank, which was 10th, but a lot of that came before, and Romeo Langford was the biggest jewel of that, which cost very, very, very little, next to nothing. A lot of drives between here and New Albany, so that was not the cost driver on that, although he was the one that – and the two guys the two biggest recruits, Romeo Langford and Jerome Hunter, they were right here. You didn't have to go hardly anywhere to see them. So, and then, but you follow that up with the 2019 classes for both Indiana and Illinois, who again spent the most. They end up at 54th and 68th. So, return on investment, not the best right there. Just a curiosity thing. Very, very curious, but everything costs money. But wow, Indiana's far and away a higher spender on recruiting dollars. But is that return on investment worth that? Could those resources be allocated better in a different direction? Does football deserve more? I think so. I think you have to make that investment, and that's unfortunately Indiana's been more of a, hey, well, let's see what you do, and then kind of reward after the fact. Man, they're getting it done. You want to keep improving the football program? Give them the resources they need. You already have the lowest paid coach in the league. There ought to be extra money. Oh, I forgot. It's going elsewhere. The Big Ten money. It's going into buildings someplace else on campus. That stuff needs to be looked at. You wonder why your football program is where it is, although it seems to be on the rise the hard way. Obviously, it can be done with less resources because Tom Allen's getting it done. He's getting the job done. It's just that's fascinating to look at that stuff. Talk with Matt Weaver about that a little bit when he comes on in the next hour from Peegs.com. It's just hard to imagine Indiana doing a better job than they've been doing. Not that they can't get even higher level talent, because I think that's going to come. I think this recruiting that you're seeing, the successes you're seeing in football, not only is it going to continue, I think it's going to continue to grow. The success of that is going to grow. Tom Allen's going to get better and better recruits. You know, last year he had the highest rated recruit of all time in Samson James. He goes up and gets the receiver from Detroit to eclipse that coming in next year. I think that's going to happen again. Especially, he's done that with back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons. If they have a breakout season this year, look out. If they have the kind of season I think that they're going to have, football recruiting could just bust loose. It could really just go to levels unimaginable by football fans just a couple of years ago. You just got to take your hat off to Tom Allen for what he's done. Text into the show. What will make the biggest improvement this year, offense or defense? Well, that's a good question. I don't know that – I think you're going to see it on the offensive side because it's the most visible, and I think the most visible thing is going to be the ability to go downfield like I talked about earlier and stretch the defense. Indiana has not had that ability to go downfield successfully. I think they will this year, and I think they're going to be successful at it because not just the players, but you got an offensive coordinator who's looking to do that. That's a point of focus for this football team, is to go downfield, to be more explosive. They did not have explosive plays last year. They didn't do anything to set the defense on its heels. The defense could always dig in, load the box, crunch the field, shorten the field. Indiana has to lengthen that field. I think that happens this year. So I think that the offense had more room to grow for that reason. My answer to that is going to be the offense. I think the defense is going to be spectacular. I was talking to Don Fisher yesterday. Don will be joining us here soon on Mondays, beginning, well, maybe next week. In a couple weeks. Next month, regardless. But he talked about the secondary, maybe the greatest secondary Indiana's had in his time at Indiana. Don Fisher's been at Indiana for a minute. Don Fisher has seen a lot of football games. He's seen a lot of football teams. So that's a pretty bold statement. Not because I don't think that they don't have the best, but just because of the length of time. It's a long time. But I think he's probably right because they were good last year. And this defense has made its bones on getting better and doing the right things. Takeaways. They were one of the tops in the country in takeaways last year. That's going to continue to get better, I think. I think the question on defense is going to be the defensive line. There'll be some question of linebacker, but the secondary is shored up. I think they're solid at linebacker. Defensive line is going to be a big key for that side of the ball. But again, to answer the question, I think it's the offense and explosive plays. The lack of that last year is going to really stick out when you can't do something and all of a sudden you can. I think that they're going to make a lot of teams nervous. I think teams like Ohio State and Michigan are going to be nervous when they come into Memorial Stadium this year. Indiana's already played them tough in the last few years. But that was with less talent. That was with less imaginative coaches in positions of importance, i.e. offensive coordinator. So it ought to be something, man. Looking forward to it. We got Matt Weaver coming up next from Peegs.com. We'll talk about that more. It's almost here, folks. Big Ten or Football Media Day starts tomorrow for Indiana. Friday, camp starts. The first day of finding out who the next quarterback is going to be and what this team is going to look like. We'll be coming to you, of course. We'll be able to go to the practices. We'll commence thereafter. We'll give you a complete coverage from football practice. But a lot coming up. We'll be live tomorrow from Memorial Stadium for IU Football Day. Coach Allen's going to be on. Kalen DeBoer, Kane Womack. Plus, we'll be talking to a ton of players as well to have that for you afterwards. But you'll be able to get that tomorrow. Then Pat Graham tomorrow. So looking forward to that, man. A great show on tap. Looking forward to it. We got a lot more coming up from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Speed coming back with more right after this.
Listen to them old hound dogs.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Graham. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. on along and welcome to Indiana Sports Beat, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Wednesday as we've reached the midpoint of the week. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on track. Thanks a lot for joining us. Jim Coyle with you as always. On the program today, Matt Weaver from Peegs.com. We're going to preview Indiana Football Media Days, which takes place tomorrow. Football season is upon us. Practice starts on Friday. Fall camp opens. Kickoff is just 30-something days, 32 days away, wherever we are in the month. It's here, man. We're getting there. Indiana opens up, of course, play on August 31st up at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis against Ball State. A lot of questions that we all have in regards to quarterbacks and how good can the offense be and new offensive coordinator. All those things will be answered over the next few weeks as we head towards kickoff. Also hoping to have Kevin Brockway with us today. He recently spoke with Antoine Randall, former IU great, who's now into coaching. So hopefully we can get to him as well. Blake Wesley, the latest recruit to pick up an offer from IU football. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. And, you know, I was talking previously about that vaunted 2021 class of Indiana. And you know, Indiana's roster buildup right now, they've got 2 open scholarships currently. And I think that, or two extra that will be carried over to next year, which, of course, Trey Galloway's already committed to Indiana. I expect Anthony Leal to follow suit. I think Matt Cross is going to do that as well. I think that they're then going to bank that 4th open scholarship for next season's 2021 class. And on paper right now, that would give Indiana 4 scholarships for that 2021 class. And I think they're going to need each and every one of them. Now, there's possibilities that there may be more. There's possibility that we don't know how Jerome Hunter's situation is going to end up. We don't know if there will be any transfers. I don't expect, but you never know. But right now, looking at 4 for that 2021 class. You know, I think that's going to be Galloway, Leal, and Cross this year. It's my guess. And at that 2021 class, if you can land Christian Lander, Caleb First, Trey Kaufman, and Blake Wesley, all 4 Indiana kids, but 4 needed. You know, you got Lander who's at the point. First is a big man. Kaufman's a wing. Wesley's a shooter. Great addition. That'd be a damn nice recruiting class. But bigger than that, of those 7 kids I just mentioned, 6 of them are from Indiana. They're Indiana kids. So those that really want that Indiana influence, you're looking at getting it. But not only that, if that were the case, and you added those other 7 kids, 6 of which are from the state of Indiana, then you go back and look at the current roster with Trace Jackson and Armand Franklin, Rob Fennessy, Demezy Anderson. That gives you an additional – that means everybody on the team, with the exception of Race Thompson and Jerome Hunter, is – what's that? Oh, Al why is he not listed on this? Al Durham was gone. He'll be as – oh, that's right. I'm looking at the wrong – well, I was looking at the 2021 roster, what it would be like. But Durham would be gone by then. But I'm talking about when the 21 class actually is in Bloomington, which would be the year after. So Durham would be gone. That means everybody on the team, with the exception of Race Thompson and Jerome Hunter, well, then, of course, Cross is from Indiana, would be from Indiana. That's 10 out of your 13. That's amazing. Not many teams can say that. I don't know that any team, other than a smaller team, could say that. No big league team, no blue blood, no big time program ever can say that. Kentucky can't. They don't. I mean, they hardly have a Kentucky kid on their roster. North Carolina, Duke, those guys come from all over, Kansas. But Indiana is the basketball state, and that's how it should be. You should see tons of Indiana kids on the roster because it produces good talent. Not just because it's from Indiana, but they're good. If the talent is high end. Hadn't seen that in a long time. It harkens you back to the days of Todd Leary, Pat Graham, Greg Graham, Calbert Cheney, Damon Bailey. A lot of Indiana guys on there. Those teams were very successful. Very similar type of makeup. So, some good news there. You know, and I talked earlier, there was a thing that came out yesterday about Indiana was one of 53 schools looked at in a study between basketball and football recruiting dollars spent. Indiana is the only school in those 53 rather, that spent more on basketball recruiting, over almost $47,000 more, than they did football recruiting. Now, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it saying, well, Indiana has spent a ton on recruiting basketball. It does. Or it doesn't spend enough on football recruiting, which is accurate as well. When they're going to make the total commitment to football, I guess they're going to make them win first. I think that's going to start happening this year. But you already had the lowest paid coach in the Big Ten, 65th in the country. Make the commitment. Make the complete commitment. I think that really starts to change this year. I think that next year this is going to be different. I think the success that Tom Allen has shown recruiting is remarkable. But I think that that's going to force things to start to change. And I guess that's how you have to do it. We'll look forward to talking to Matt Weaver about that. What does IU basketball need in that 2021 class? Well, of those four that I listed, Kirsten Lander, Caleb First, Trey Kaufman, and Blake Wesley, I think they get a lot of what they need. You get a shooter in Wesley, you get a wing in Kaufman, you get another big guy in First, and a great ball handler, quick off the dribble with Christian Lander. And if you can add that to guys like Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal, Matt Cross, things will be taking shape. You know, you talked about it's been a big point of contention, Archie getting his own guys in there. You know, Trey Galloway is not the highest level recruit that Indiana's going to land, but I said this yesterday, it may be the most important recruit to date for Archie. And more important than Romeo was, because Trey Galloway is the type of player that he needs. He's a hard-nosed, gritty, big guard that can handle the ball, that can shoot the ball, that can play defense, that can mix it up. But more importantly, has the willingness and the want to do all those things. Very important player. He's going to be diving for loose balls. He's going to be doing those things that invigorates his teammates. And I'm not saying he's the only one. But he's that type of recruit. You know, you don't see a 5-star next to his name. Who cares? That those stars don't show a lot. They don't show effort and heart. He's just going to be I think he's going to be a very, very important piece in the building of Indiana basketball. And if you can add a few more like him, the team's only going to get better. We watched a team last year that did not have great chemistry, that did not have great mental toughness, at least from where I was sitting. I think you're going to see a huge difference in that mindset this year. Joey Brunk, Deron Davis, those guys they're going to come with an attitude of getting it done. Devontae Green, I think he's the same way. I think you're going to see a much, much more mentally tough team in the upcoming season than what you saw last year. Did you see the Big Reds fight last night? Wow, that was awesome. I hate to cheer on a fight, but it's a baseball fight, so it's not a real fight. Nobody usually gets hurt. But, man, you got to give it up for Amir Garrett, a pitcher for the Reds. I think they had threw at Dietrich, one of the Reds players, and there was chirping going on. This has been hanging over Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. They've been hanging on that for a while. But Amir Garrett just goes flying into the Pittsburgh melee of players by himself, swinging. It was funny. Yasier Puig, in his last role as a Red, he jumped right in there backing his guys up. He's off to Cleveland in a trade. The Cincinnati will end up with the pitcher Bauer, who just threw the ball in the center field the other day. I'm sure you saw that. Andrew Luck's got a leg injury. Not sure what that's going to be like right now as Colts camp has opened up. Hopefully that's nothing serious. IU baseball is going to open the season at LSU. That's big. That's big time. LSU, one of the top programs in the country. That'll be certain something to see. We'll talk to Jeff Mercer hopefully about that soon. Get him on. But we got a lot more to get to. Matt Weaver's going to join us next as we preview IU football media days tomorrow. We'll be back with that and more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hey, little sister, what's your vice wish?
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Oh, the sweet sounds of Wednesday means Matt Weaver from Peegs.com. Matthew, how's it going, man?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
Great, great. All your hard work is about to come to a point here as we get ready for IU Football Media Day tomorrow. Big day for Indiana as fall camp starts on Friday. But a lot of excitement going into this season, a lot of anticipation, the recruiting job that Tom Allen has done and putting things in place, new coaches changes, personnel changes, just a lot of things pointing in a positive direction and ready to get it kicked off tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, media day, get to talk to all the coaches, coordinators. I think a number of the players. So that should be fun. I mean, I'm more looking forward to Friday and get on the practice field and watch them. But it'll be nice to see how the summer went for these guys and where their mindset is and all that, and the coaches and those guys and what they're. I'm sure they're very excited about the upcoming season. But to me, Friday is kind of the day that I've really been pointing towards.
Yeah, and not only that, we keep talking about, of course, the biggest question or anticipated information to be found out is who's going to end up being the starting quarterback, of course. They've got three good ones in Peyton Ramsey, Jack Tuttle, and Michael Penix. And there's some people that think that they already know and that the Coach Allen knows, and I'm like, trust me. Nobody has a clue who's going to be the starter because, first of all, they haven't practiced together in a competitive nature healthy yet today. This will be the first time, to my knowledge, that all three of them are going to be healthy and competing against each other.
Yeah, that's not been decided. I mean, when they open up practice on Friday and the ones go out on the field, it'll be Peyton Ramsey under center, but that's the way it should be. He was the starter at the end of last season. You're not gonna. He didn't lose a job in spring, which is not really going to happen. Especially like you said, you didn't have all three guys participating 100%, and you got a new OC. I mean, Peyton Ramsey's never played for Kalen DeBoer in a real game, and they've been in spring ball together and they did some things. Obviously, there were some scrimmage type situations, and but until he gets to see Michael Penix. There no decision is going to be made. And I mean, I don't put a lot of the depth charts because they put them out because they have to. But right. if it was kind of set in stone, I don't think you'd have Peyton Ramsey or Michael Penix or Jack Tuttle, on the quarterback. I think they go in there and they name a guy because it would make sense if you had a guy to name him now to get all those reps for that guy and to get everybody kind of in line and start and do it that way. There's going to be a competition I would expect for at least a couple weeks, and we'll see where the dust settles.
Yeah, because like you said, Peyton Ramsey is going to be coming in. He's the incumbent, but they would love to be able to get because they have a new offense, as you just pointed out. Kalen DeBoer, new offensive coordinator. So the sooner they can get that number one guy and get the team reps together, they would preferable. But that's not going to be, I'd say, until a week before the first game, the kickoff. But it's very, very interesting time for Indiana football, and we forget those guys are competing for this starting job. So they're going through something that a lot of them haven't gone through as much, except for Peyton Ramsey. He's got experience competing for the job.
Yeah, I mean, when Michael Penix came in, I mean, I think there was some thought that he could play early, but I mean, obviously Peyton Ramsey had started the year before, about half the season. Split some time with Richard Lego, but. Penix was coming in as obviously a freshman and had a lot to learn. And he played some last year. And maybe, I think the Penn State game was the game where they were going to maybe start to pass the baton a little bit. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way because of the injury. But, we'll never know if that's what was going to happen. And then obviously Jack Tuttle at Utah, they had a good quarterback there. And so he was kind of settled in as, I think, the number 3 guy. So, yeah, they've not – I mean, while they've competed some, it's not going to be like it's going to be here starting on Friday where, every single rep, every single day is going to be important. I mean, this is, and Kalen DeBoer is, obviously a really good coach, and he's done this before, and he's going to pick the guy that can give them the best chance to win. Obviously, Tom Allen's going to be involved, but I really think Kalen DeBoer is going to be driving this decision. I don't think he comes and takes this OC job and to have kind of his personnel, I don't want to say dictated to him, but I think obviously Tom Allen's head coach and he's going to have input, but at the end of the day, I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be the guy who makes the final call on what quarterback they go with.
And you mentioned Kalen DeBoer's his first season, so they are implementing a new offense. How difficult is that for a program to first of all, you have a quarterback battle and implementing a new offense at the same time?
Well, that's where, I mean, the spring really helps with that. And in today's college football, all these offenses are pretty similar. The routes you run, I mean, what's really different is the verbiage. what one team might call a certain play or a certain concept that that somebody else might use different verbiage, but it's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's not a there's not a huge difference. Now everybody has their own kind of way they do things, or their own tweak, or their own, everybody has their own system. So to me, the biggest thing is getting the verbiage down, and that's what spring's for. And hopefully they did. I mean, all indications are they did. But and then you go into fall camp. I mean, to me, Tuttle and Ramsey will probably be a little bit ahead in that regard, just because they got to do team stuff. They got to do, and Penix is gonna have to probably play a little bit of catch up this first week. Just working with the full team. He did 7-on-7. And he got to do individual, but that's probably where he's going to have to probably catch up a little bit. He should have the verbiage down, but just getting out there and actually doing it, it's different. One thing is learning it in a book and reading it on a video screen or watching on a video screen, and then actually putting it into action on the field. So that's where he's probably got a little bit of catching up to do. But this is a talented kid. He's a smart kid. Works hard. I don't think that'll be a huge issue. And as far as implementing the offense, I mean, I would think the majority of it was implemented in the spring, and now it's just kind of going back and brushing up. And there might be some things they left out, and they'll add as they get more into fall camp and maybe even into the season. But I would think they're probably okay there. It's, really just kind of, figuring out who your starters are going to be at the spots where there's still competition. And obviously, like you mentioned, the quarterback spot.
And I would think that, I don't know that any one of them is more excited than the other, but Michael Penix, he came here without knowing that Kalen DeBoer was going to be there. He came there in a different situation than, say, I can't remember when Tuttle came. Kalen DeBoer was already named. Is that right?
Yeah, they started recruiting Tuttle before Kalen DeBoer came in. And I'm trying to think the timeline. I mean, Tuttle basically committed, and I think it was right around the same time. But Nick Sheridan was basically the lead recruiter there for Jack Tuttle. So, but yeah, he didn't know that Kalen DeBoer was going to be the OC when they really started recruiting him, and he made his visit and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and my point was going to make that Penix has really got to be excited because he came here with the situation where it was, and that situation has gotten much better for his opportunity. So he's got to be extremely excited about this, and I'm sure they all are. Yeah,
I would think so. And I think with Penix, he got a taste of it. I mean, look at the Penn State game and his numbers. People are like, but it was what he did. It was the impact he had on the game. And we talked about it just over and over. But everything kind of changed when he came in. Now, would it stayed that way for the rest of the game? Who knows? We only got to see him for basically about a half. It was, as far as playing time, it was probably maybe even less than a quarter. But he got a taste of what it's like to be a college football player and play against high-level competition, and then it's just taken away from you. So I would think that adds to his excitement. And then you got this offense with a coordinator who's had great success at basically everywhere he's been. His offenses have put up huge numbers. His quarterbacks have put up big stats, and they've been fun systems to play in. So, for him, I would think that he's probably really, I wouldn't, his first few throws on Friday might be a little high and wide because he's probably going to be pretty jacked up to get out there on the field and throw it. And, it might be one of those things where he's throwing a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at 20 feet. And it goes, 3 feet over a guy's head. But once he settles down, he'll be fine. And, once that kind of, the not the nerves, but just that kind of adrenaline wears off, he'll be back to doing what he's been doing his whole life, and that's playing football.
We on the defensive side of the ball, there's also a defensive coordinator. Of course, Kane Womack was elevated to that position. The defense also needed to improve some last year, but I had an off-the-air conversation with Don Fisher yesterday, and he was talking about the secondary, that this may be the best secondary he has seen at Indiana football, and that's a lot of years. That's a lot of teams.
Yeah, I don't want to date Don, but he's, and I've been following this program since when I was a kid, and Bill Mallory was the coach, and he obviously had some great defenses back then. Obviously, football was way different than it is now, but and all the time I've been covering or following, I don't remember they've had guys, they've had a guy or two that are as good as what they've got now, but they've never had this much depth. I mean, Tywan Mullen in almost any year of Indiana football comes in and is going to be a starter right away. And I think he could play this year, but it's not a guarantee. I mean, there's a lot of talent at corner. I mean, it's going to be tough to get on the field at that position. But the good thing is about that is this is, you can rotate guys. And obviously in today's college football with the spread offenses and teams running a lot of different receivers, you got to be able to rotate DBs because guys get worn out. I mean, it's a lot of running during the game. and they've got when they go to their second string, and even sometimes their third string, there's not going to be much of a drop off. They're gonna have big to the same level of play, and that's got to be exciting for Casey Teagarden and Brandon Shelby, who coach safety and corners respectively, and obviously Coach Womack and Coach Allen, who obviously be heading up the defense. To have that kind of talent back there, it allows you up front to maybe take some chances or do some things because you're confident that your guys can maybe cover one-on-one, or they're going to be able to make plays in space against great athletes.
And on the defensive side, the defensive line is kind of going to be the linchpin, I think, of how good that defense can be. Because to me, I think that might be where the biggest questions are.
Yeah, I mean, I think at end you got a pretty good feel for what you got. I mean, you bring back, Gavin Everett, who has gone from a walk-on to a really solid Big Ten player. James Head really flashed last year, and I think he's going to have a big season this year. Alan Stallings is a senior, and he's a good pass rusher. And then you add, Madison Norris coming off the red shirt, and they like what he can bring as a pass rusher. So, Michael Ziemba is a guy that's I've heard nothing but rave reviews about in his offseason, spring and summer, and what he's done in the weight room and all that. The question will be inside. I mean, you bring back basically one guy who's played any kind of significant minutes, and that's Jerome Johnson. Now, you do have Juan Harris back, who played 2 years ago before injury in his arm and taking a red shirt. So he has some game action, but not a full season's worth. But the only guy who's really got any kind of, significant game action is Jerome Johnson, who's a heck of a player. But, Juan had a good spring. They brought in DeMarcus Elliott. And then they recruited well at the defensive tackle position in this class. And one or two of those guys might have to play. I mean, it may not be a bunch of snaps, but if you can get maybe a dozen, 15 snaps out of one or two of those guys, they've got the size. C.J. Person, Antoine Whitner, and C.O. We'll just go with C.O. They've got the size to come in and help out right away. But it's a jump. It's a huge jump from, especially at that position, because when in high school you're probably bigger than almost every guy you go against. Now you're going against guys that are as big as you and stronger. So it's going to be a jump, but they're talented, and I think you can see one or two of those guys in the mix. And if they can hold up, then this defense has got a chance, I think, to get back to that kind of top 30, 25 level that Tom Allen's been, that they were when he first came in, or close to it, and what he's looking for.
I'm not even looking at his name right now, but I'm going to take a shot. Nafoa Totoa.
That you're probably pretty close. Man, you're braver than I am.
Well, I've looked at it so long with such trepidation.
If I can look at it when they have the how you say it, they do the little with the hyphens and all that. Yes, I can kind of do it, but I can't do it off the top of my head. I'm not brave enough to do it like that.
Oh man, yeah, it's going to be tricky. How excited is this receiving core got to be in this offense? The guys like Nick Westbrook and that have been here, gone through injuries, and there's so many guys on this team that have gone through serious injuries that are back and looking to be a big-time part of this team this year.
Yeah, and obviously Nick was one of the guys that we got to see up in Chicago that they took up for the Big Ten Media Day, and I think I asked him about that. What does he like about the offense, and just how it's there's so many things they can do out of it, and when Coach DeBoer has in his past has really liked using tight ends, and he's got tight ends. With a Peyton Hendershot, what makes an offense tough to defend is when you can play the same personnel that line up differently. So you could have Peyton Hendershot lined out wide. You could probably play him on the end as a traditional tight end with his hand on the ground. Same thing with Matt Bjorson. You can do different things. Gary Cooper, the freshman, is going to be really intriguing to watch, in my opinion, in fall camp. Not prototypical size. He's listed, I think, 6'2", 235. So he's almost more of a fullback. But his coach down there, who's put guys in the NFL, Chris Merritt, he's now at a small college up in the Northeast. He told me that he was one of the top 3 or 4 athletes that he's ever coached at Columbus High School in Miami, Florida. That's high praise. This is a freak kind of athlete. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him. I mean, he could be kind of a H-back, a tight end. You can maybe split him out wide. And when you have guys that you can have the same personnel and not have to sub in and out, and you can still run different formations, that's tough on a defense. That's really hard to defend. And it's going to be fun to watch how they do that, because they've got tight ends who basically could be receivers, and these receivers have the ability. Donovan Hale's another guy I think is going to be fun to watch. He had a great spring. He looks great. He's lost some weight. He's healthy, and I thought he looked terrific, as good as I've ever seen him look since he's been in Indiana. And hopefully he can stay healthy. Knock on wood that he does. because if he does, I think he's going to have a really nice season. I think Westbrook's going to have a big year. And then you got Walt Phillier back and Ty Freifogel. Miles Marshall's been really getting rave reviews. So, I think the only thing you'd say on the receivers is you hope if there's any injuries that could get a little bit thin just because they don't have great numbers there. But the talent is really good.
As you look over the Big Ten, and you got teams that you always expect great things from, the Big Four, of course, in the Big Ten East, and the West Side changes here or there. But this season, I think Indiana could be looked at by the rest of the conference as maybe one of the most dangerous teams because they're not supposed to beat these guys. But I think that the Michigans and the Michigan States and the Penn States and all those guys, Ohio State included, they're going to have to come, whether they come to Bloomington or the opposite. Indiana is going to be a team that is looked at with fear this year.
Yeah, and I think even Jim Harbaugh made a comment about the strides Indiana's made, and how tough of a game they've been for them. And I don't know if there's any other comments from other things, but I think they're looked at as it's when you. Let's be honest. For a long time, Indiana was looked at as a gimme. That was where you kind of was a layup, and you figured probably the second half you could rest your starters and all that kind of stuff. But now this team, they come out and they punch people in the mouth, and they're not going to back down from anybody. They may not have the talent of Ohio State. They don't, or a Penn State or a Michigan. But they're not going to back down. They're going to play, and I think that comes down from their coaching staff. Obviously, Tom Allen has that belief, and then it resonates to the entire staff and to the older players, and then all the way to the younger players. And I think another thing that's really changed, when you bring in guys from Florida, they just have a different mindset. People may call it cocky, may call it arrogant. I just call it confidence. These guys know they can play football. That's what they did. They grow up playing football year-round down there. It's huge. It's the best football state in the country, in my opinion, for high school football. And it's like coming to Indiana to recruit basketball players. Guys here know how to play basketball, and that when you get those guys, they have that confidence about them. When they get on, those guys call it swag, whatever you want to call it. They believe, and they don't care that they're in Indiana and they're playing Ohio State. They think they can beat anybody and they can compete with anybody, and that's really where it starts. Your coaches can believe all they want, but the players have to buy into that, and they have to believe themselves. And it has to be real, and I think that's where Indiana's getting with their roster.
I'm very excited. Matt Weaver from Peegs.com, our football guru. It all starts tomorrow, man. I'm ready.
Okay. I look forward to seeing you, man. Take care.
Thank you. Matt Weaver from Peegs.com. Make sure you check out his complete content of the Indiana football program there at Peegs.com. Hey, coming up next on the show, Kevin Brockway, IU beat writer from CNHI. He recently talked to Antoine Randall, one of the greatest football players of all time out of Indiana. Super Bowl champion, amongst other things. But we'll be talking with Kevin next here on Indiana Sports Beat when we come back from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
Hi, this is A.J. Moyer, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you here at this midway point of the week, Wednesday. Joined now by our good friend Kevin Brockway, IU beat writer from CNHI. Kevin, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Great. How was Chicago?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Had a chance to head up and watch the Mets play the White Sox, watch my favorite team, and they pulled through an extra innings, made it a little interesting, but made it a little bit of a longer, later trip home, winning 5-2, back-to-back home runs by McNeil and Conforto in the 10th after Diaz, or as I call him, Diazaster, blew the save in the ninth.
Kevin, originally from New York, a big Mets fan. I know we've been talking about that game for a while, but in a long time since you've been to Chicago, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Just a couple of weeks. So it's
a week, not a couple weeks, just a week.
At least I knew my lay of the land up there. But nice ballpark up there, guaranteed rate, the new Comiskey, and the fans were friendly, actually, even though I was wearing an opposing jersey, and had a really good time.
Well, we're a day away from IU football media days, and appropriately, you have a nice piece out now. You talk with former quarterback Antoine Randall L. Obviously, he's on the Hall of Fame ballot for college football. He's one of the greatest football players of all time for Indiana, obviously, but a great one, a Super Bowl champ, just a unique player, man.
Yeah, no question. And, you think about the dual threat quarterbacks and, which were in vogue kind of later in that decade when you looked at Cam Newton and Tim Tebow. But before that, I mean, really, if you think about those, Antoine Randall L., he was the first breakthrough quarterback to pass and rush for 40 touchdowns in a career. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers. So, I mean, he's a guy that, you kind of hope will gain a little momentum on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot. Obviously, what's holding him back would be probably the fact that, Indiana didn't quite have the team success, not making a bowl game in his 4 years of starting quarterback. But, you certainly couldn't blame Antoine for that when you judge the numbers and you look at, what he was able to put up during that era in terms of the number of yards passing, the number of yards rushing. I mean, he scored a receiving touchdown and, obviously went on to have a very successful pro career as a kick returner and a wide receiver with the Steelers and the Redskins as well.
That's something that boggles my mind. This not because of team success. People don't that kept Anthony Thompson from winning the Heisman Trophy. He played on a a team that was just one game under 500, and he lost one of the closest races ever to Andre Ware for the 1989 Heisman Trophy. But just like Antoine Randall L., who did this on an Indiana team in the Big Ten. So you're doing this against the toughest of competition on a team that's not that good. So to me, that success is magnified, but instead of it being that way, it gets ridiculed, and I don't get that. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't play defense and line up and, do that, or, he couldn't control some of those uncontrollables. He could only control, what happened offensively. And
But I'm
obviously
not
there are
talking about the
teams.
wins. I'm talking. I mean, the quality. I'm talking about the fact that if you're not on a good team and you do some great things, why does that not exemplify what you've done? It's easy to do that on a Michigan or Ohio State or a Penn State. That's easy. You've got the best line and they're three deep and the best of everything. But so I don't understand why when a guy does it. Like Walter Payton, all those years of playing on some bad Bears teams, yet he was still the baddest ass on the field. Why do these guys not get more recognition instead of less for their exploits?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a good point for sure. I mean, I think in terms of the fact that, a guy like Randall L. for offensively, certainly put up those kind of numbers and drove his team down the field. With inferior talent, and the team as a whole had inferior talent. When you looked at both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm still pissed that Tevin Coleman didn't get invited to New York for the Heisman race the year, his last year in Indiana, where he rushed for over 2,000 yards on an Indiana team, again, against the Big Ten East, against Michigan, against all these guys. He did that, and yet he didn't even get an invite, and that's only happened 18 times in the history of college football. So, I've never understood guys who do great things, but it not being recognized because they're on an average team. To me, I think that it's harder to accomplish what they accomplish.
Yeah, no question. But I think that when you look at college football in general, I mean, they're going to want those marquee names there. It's a balancing act because you could make the argument that great players, make the plays that help your team win games. But obviously, if somebody from Indiana, quarterback like Antoine Randall could do that and lead Indiana to a 7-3 or 8-4 record, that would magnify it even more.
This is the 8th time he'll be on the Hall of Fame ballot, and again, one of the greats. What was one of the most enlightening things from talking to Randall L?
Well, I think the main thing is I think it's interesting his decision to get into coaching. And he's kind of like a offensive assistant, quality control assistant with the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's kind of getting in on the ground floor. He'll be 40 in a few weeks, and he's got 6 kids. Which is amazing. If he's got a big family with his wife Juana, who's been basically his college sweetheart, who he's been married with since his college days, and really kind of said he had to get the green light from her to start this, but is hoping one day to work his way up and maybe be an NFL coach. So he's kind of getting in on the ground floor here. He's got a really good relationship with Bruce Arians from when Arians was the wide receiver coach at the Steelers. And Antoine played there, and now Arians is the head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks. So it's kind of a new and interesting adventure for him.
Yeah, and Arians is a great one to learn under. I mean, he was with the Colts previously, with the Arizona Cardinals. Has had a lot of success, man. He's done very well wherever he's been.
Yeah, and I think that will rub off well on him in terms of, here's a guy, Bruce Arians, who's a great offensive mind, a great teacher, and someone that relates well to players. And Antoine talked about that too. He said that, he's hoping that, by getting in on the ground floor, he can, not only kind of learn the X's and O's, but, learn about, having those kind of relationships with players. And so much of coaching now, as athletes has changed, it's trust, getting them to trust you, to believe in you, to believe in following your plan. And Bruce Arians does that really well, probably as good as anybody.
And not only was Randall an incredible football player, he was just an incredible athlete. If people don't remember, he played for one season under Coach Bob Knight on the basketball team, 98-99, which was, I think, the year of Bob Knight's second to last year in Bloomington. But he also played for Bob Morgan on the baseball team in 2000 and was drafted in the 14th round by your nemesis, the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy that's a terrific 3-sport athlete all the way around. And, the speed, I guess, is the main thing, in terms of Antoine. I mean, he was always a burner. He said that on the football field. And, that's a hot commodity in baseball, too. And in basketball, I'm sure, with speed with the basketball, is that translates to all 3 sports.
And he had the opportunity to play under some good coaches. They were like Cam Cameron did not have the success at Indiana that many had hoped for, but there's no doubt Cam Cameron was a great offensive mind, another former quarterback and basketball player at Indiana, no less.
Yeah, and Cam went on to coach the Miami Dolphins for 1 year, if you remember, and was an offensive coordinator for several years in the NFL. And it was just, when talking to Antoine about that era, he said basically, just a handful of plays. Really, if you look at it, they did have 1 5-win season, kind of very similar to where Indiana is now football-wise in terms of, getting those 4 and 5-win seasons, but never quite being able to, break through for a bowl game. And I'm sure certainly, he looked back on it. But the Big Ten East obviously was loaded back then with Ohio State. Jim Tressel had things going. You take a look at, Penn State and how good they were and how good Michigan was. Tom Brady was playing during that era. So you still had a lot of tough teams in front of you.
Make sure you find that in your CNHI papers, but you can also find it online under Kevin Brockway on Twitter. But find that because it's a good read for sure. While you've been gone since we spoken last, Indiana has received their first commitment in basketball for the next season. Trey Galloway, of course, not a surprise at all from Culver Academy state championship, but he is one that I fully expected to go to pick IU, but he did. But he's the first one. Now, who's going to be next? A lot of people think it's going to be Anthony Leal, but at least the seal is broken.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you talk about Trey Galloway, a guy who's 6'5", who has a little bit of versatility, and he can, probably play both wing positions, the 2 and the 3, a very good defender, which fits into what Archie is trying to do defensively. I think he's a guy that, he's going to be interesting. And he and Anthony Leal have a close relationship. And, Anthony, obviously, he narrowed down his list to Indiana and Stanford. So, I'm sure he's going to be making decisions soon as well. So, you're talking about 2 guys that are pretty good building blocks. Both guys, as we've discussed before, that are kind of wing players, shooting guards, but, probably could play together in this era of, 3 and 4 guard offenses.
And Trey Galloway is, man, he's a utility player. He's a tool. A utility, by tool, I mean a utility tool. You can use him in so many different ways. And a Joker text in that, are you saying Trey Galloway equals Zach McRoberts? No, I'm saying that Trey Galloway equals Zach McRoberts on steroids. Galloway can shoot the ball. He can do a lot of things. Zach McRoberts was able to do a lot of things, but Galloway can do a lot of things really well. So I think that for those that were a fan of Zach McRoberts and his game and his effort, you're getting that in Trey Galloway, but much, much more. I think he has better offensive skills and potentially better defensive skills as well. But a great player for Archie to get because I think that he is a glue guy, quote-unquote glue guy. That term's overused a lot, but that's what he is. He's a guy that I think is going to inspire guys around him with good play.
Yeah, and, he's a 3-star. There's some around college basketball circles or recruiting circles. I think he may be a little underrated. I think 176 in the country is what I saw on one ranking website. So, I mean, not necessarily, a guy, like you said, versatile glue guy. Is he an overwhelming talent? Maybe not, but he's a guy that I think is going to be helpful. I think just the key when you look at the 2020 class, and Anthony Leal is more of a 4-star talent-wise, top 100 kid, but I still think you need to get maybe another stud or 2 around him, another guy that really could be an impact guy, and that would certainly help IU's recruiting class going forward and what Archie's trying to build.
Yeah, and I was looking at the grid, the roster grid as we play it out, and Galloway is the first commitment. Like I said, I think Leal is going to commit to Indiana, and I think Matt Cross might. But looking forward to the 2021 class, where I think that they could possibly bring in at least 4 guys, I think those 4 guys may all be from Indiana, and then you add this year's class and last year's class, and what it ends up being, when the time this 2021 class is on campus in Bloomington, you could potentially see an Indiana roster that has 10 out of 13 guys from the state of Indiana.
Yeah, and that's certainly, it's not a bad way to build because of the talent of this state, and you figure it's going to translate, and the kids from within the state, they love basketball and they're going to put the work in. So I think that's what, Archie is trying to build, and guys that, take pride of, having the, Indiana on the front of their chest, having that jersey, and playing in Assembly Hall and what it means to them. And, we certainly saw that during the Bob Knight era, and it was successful. So, you're trying to build that, but you want talent, but you also want guys that are going to play together and be cohesive as well. So that mix, and sometimes that can overcome talent. Having a group of guys that play together and play hard for one another. You think that you get more of these guys in state. Some of these guys, Galloway and Leal have played together in travel ball too, so there's already a built-in chemistry there.
Yeah, that's a great point because I've talked so many times about last year's teams not having cohesiveness. They were anything but that. They looked disjointed. They just didn't seem to be mentally tough, but also the chemistry just wasn't there. But you had a group, an incoming group that did not play with each other. Finney was different, did not play with Romeo, did not play with Jerome Hunter. All those guys played on different teams where a lot of these guys that we're looking at now are very familiar with each other and have played with each other for a lot of time. And that's going to be invaluable, I think, to building that camaraderie and chemistry that this Indiana program needs.
Yeah, it's a team game, and I think that when you look at it, you want to try to build that, and sometimes that it takes time to build, in terms of even at the college level as opposed to the travel level and the high school level. You want that to it takes time to percolate, and you're basically trying to get older together. I think that's the best way to combat kind of the one and dones, and it's good to sprinkle in that kind of a player, a grad transfer, an impact guy, but you want to have that core too, that group of guys that have played together for 2 or 3 years, and if you can do that, and those guys are above average talent, and you can get that one superstar, then I think you really have something.
Absolutely. You just got back from the Chicago White Sox, or up seeing Chicago play up in the Mets. Did you see the Cincinnati Reds fight yesterday with Pittsburgh?
Yeah, no, it was kind of nuts. I saw that. It was a little crazy down there, and then I also saw Yasiel Puig got traded. Which was kind of nuts, right? And the Reds got Trevor Bauer. It seems like they're kind of going all in on the pitching.
Yeah, that trade happened just before the fight. It happened. I don't know if it happened during the game, but he was traded, I think, before the game ended.
Yeah, imagine if he got hurt, right?
Imagine. But his last act as a Red is, I think it's one of the reasons he was so beloved in Cincinnati. Gosh, I'm a Reds fan. I hate to see him go. It sucks, but. He was going to be a free agent next year anyway, but man, it just seems like the Reds just always break your heart getting rid of the guys you don't want them to get rid of.
Yeah. Well, the Mets play the Reds in September, so that might be another interesting road trip to go down there. Great American ballpark. I hear some good things about that ballpark on the Ohio River and how nice it is.
It is. It's a great place to be. Actually, if you go to across the river there in Kentucky, not Covington, I forget Newport. There's actually a ferry that will take you from Newport across the river right over to the stadium at the foot of the stadium.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that's no doubt. That's interesting. The only problem is you have to step foot in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, good job. Exactly. Well, we've got the Indiana Football Media Day coming up tomorrow, man. Things are kicking off. It is football season, almost officially. Fall camp will open on Friday, but we're here, man. We're counting down the time.
Yeah, no, Jim, it's going to be. I think it's going to be tremendously interesting this season under Tom Allen to see if they can. Take that next step and get that 6th or 7th win and make that progress and get to that bowl game. And certainly, the talent that he's bringing in certainly bodes well for their future in terms of their depth.
Yeah, and the success that he's had recruiting has been amazing because it's been on the backs of losing seasons. So if they have a breakout season next year, I'm not at all going to be shocked that this recruiting for Indiana starts to go through the roof because he's had more success than anyone else has ever had as an Indiana football coach in the recruiting circles. And that's not been on winning teams. And I think that could possibly be starting about to happen for Indiana.
Yeah, I think that kind of that key is, if you can build that success, kids want to go to places where they can win, and get exposure. And you think that that's why I think it's such a critical season for him in terms of, building that. And as we've discussed with, the Big Ten with, Urban Meyer leaving Ohio State, all of a sudden, you look at that division and there's that unknown with Ryan Day, in terms of what kind of coach is he going to be? Is he going to keep Ohio State as that power? And certainly we know that a lot of people are high on Jim Harbaugh, but you never know until you play the games. James Franklin at Penn State, it's that East Division is just such a bear, but Tom Allen's view on it is you got to play the guys that are, the teams that are in front of you. And right now that's where Indiana is, playing in the East.
Well, we'll certainly find out as things will kick off tomorrow. Indiana Sports Beat will be there for Indiana Football Media Days. You'll be there as well. But thanks a lot, man. Welcome back to the land of the living, and we'll see you tomorrow on Football Media Days.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. Well, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for us today here, this midway point of the week. Tomorrow, as like I said, we're going to be live from Indiana Football Media Day at Memorial Stadium. Tom Allen's going to be on the dais at 9 o'clock. So we're going to be maybe jumping on a few minutes early. Following Tom Allen's going to be Kalen DeBoer, the offensive coordinator, then Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator. So we're going to have a great first hour for you live from Football Media Day. Then in the second hour, great to have on our good friend Pat Graham. To me, one of the greatest pure shooters in the history of Indiana basketball. But looking forward to talking to Pat. He's a character, a good friend from back home in Southern Indiana. But that's going to wrap it up today. We appreciate you joining us. Thanks to Matt Weaver from Peegs.com and Kevin Brockway from CNHI for joining us, and to Jake for keeping things on track. Until we see you tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.